Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Katie Luvis, Vice President of External Affairs at the Chamber for Greater Chapel Hill-Carrboro. It is my pleasure to welcome you this morning to the Local Economic Development Forum. This is the fourth of 10 forums as part of our 2021 Critical Issues series. Today, we'll discuss what it means and what it takes to have a thriving community. We have several fantastic speakers in this morning's lineup. They are all experts in local economic development. Together, we're going to look closely at what it means and what it takes to move things forward in the towns of Chapel Hill and Carrboro. Before we get the program started, a few housekeeping items. First, we have a team of people helping manage today's forum. My colleagues Vanessa Watson and Jensen Anderson, they're on point for technology today and to troubleshoot any potential hacking issues. Aaron Nelson will serve as our presenter and moderator. And I'm your host, and I'll monitor the chat. So please post any comments, questions, or ahas in the chat below. I'll help tee them up for you during the Q&A periods. Second, today's forum and the entire 2021 Critical Issues series is coordinated by the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. This is a group of about a dozen Chamber members who volunteer their time each month to not only help coordinate this series, but also track local issues and advocate for policies that improve our community. The committee has 4 priority pillars: to recruit and retain and grow local businesses, develop a talented workforce, improve the local business climate and regulatory environment, and improve local infrastructure. If you're a Chamber member and interested in getting involved with our committee, then please drop a note in the chat to me and I'll be sure to follow up. Finally, today's discussion will be recorded and shared through our YouTube channel, and all the slides will also be shared through our SlideShare account. Everyone registered today will receive a courtesy email with links to both of those in the next few days. Now it's my pleasure to recognize our 3 sponsors whose support makes today's forum and the entire series possible. First, Chapel Hill Media Group, including 97.9 The Hill WCHL, your local radio station, and chapelboro.com, your local daily news source. Today, we're delighted to play a special morning message from Chamber member Aaron Keck, who's the host of This Morning with Aaron Keck, who happens to be on air right now and every weekday from 6 to 9. So Vanessa and Jensen, fingers crossed this works. Let's roll his video.
Hey y'all, hope you're having a good morning. This is Aaron Keck with 97.9 The Hill. As many of you know, I am the host of our brand new morning show, This Morning with Aaron Keck. Every weekday morning from 6 to 9, I get to be here in the studio, keeping you covered in the Chapel Hill-Carrboro, Orange County community, catching you up on local news, traffic, weather, sports, local music. We've got great interviews with folks, commentaries, fun features, and a whole lot more. So just a reminder, tune in every weekday morning from 6 to 9 for This Morning with Aaron Keck. I've only got a few seconds because I am literally on the air right now, but I want to welcome you all to this Regional Economic Forum. Thank you all for taking some time out of your morning to be at this important event. Thank you so much to the Chamber for bringing it to us, and just want to say how proud we are at 97.9 The Hill and on our website, chapelboro.com, to be a presenting sponsor of this Regional Economic Forum. So without any further ado, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to get back on the air, but hope you all have a good rest of your morning.
Thank you, Chapel Hill Media Group. Next up, Duke Energy, one of the largest energy holding companies in the United States, providing power to nearly 10 million customers. Duke Energy was named one of the world's most admired companies by Fortune magazine in 2020 and one of America's best employers by Forbes in 2019. With us today to bring welcome is Duke Energy Director of Business Strategy and National Accounts and Vice Chair of the Chamber's Board of Directors, Vakisha Graves. Vakisha, great to see you. Please bring welcome.
Good morning, Katie. At Duke Energy, it is our privilege to support the communities that we serve. Engaged citizens, good public policies, and a strong workforce are elements that attract businesses to expand in our area. It is the recipe for a thriving community. The Chamber team has once again put together a dynamic set of speakers and content for the 2021 Critical Series. We'll discuss how to move forward on our journey to recovery and spur growth in our area. We hope you enjoy today and find value in what the Chamber team has put together. And with that, I'll kick it back over to Katie.
Thanks, Vakisha. Next, Durham Tech. Durham Tech is the community college that serves our workforce needs here in Orange County. They have a beautiful 20-acre campus centrally located in Orange County near Hillsboro, and they will soon be able to double their square footage, more than double actually, on the campus, thanks to the Orange County Commissioners who approved this first round of funding for the campus expansion. With us today is Chamber Member and Executive Director of the Durham Tech Foundation, Melissa Chapel. Melissa, we're glad to have you.
Thank you, Katie. It's great to be with you this morning. Durham Tech aims to be a strong partner in local economic development. We're working hard to offer pathways to opportunity for residents in our service area and know that employers count on us to provide a diverse and well-trained talent pipeline. We offer a range of services for individuals and companies building, sustaining, or growing a business, whether through our small business center that offers entrepreneurs information and tools, or through our corporate education team that delivers continuing education and training to upskill the workforce of organizations. In normal times, between 1,000 and 1,500 students enter the doors of our Orange County campus each semester. And as Katie mentioned, we're eager to expand our programs and services to a second building to serve even more individuals as they pursue their academic and career goals. On behalf of Durham Tech, I'd like to thank Commissioner Greene and her colleagues on the Board of County Commissioners for their support that's made this possible. We're delighted to be a presenting sponsor for today's forum and look forward to hearing together from the local experts as we aim to build a resilient and inclusive economy.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, new this year, we're deepening our engagement with our elected officials and inviting an Orange County Commissioner to bring welcome at the top of each forum. Today, we're delighted to have Commissioner Sally Greene join us. Commissioner Greene has called Orange County home for 3 decades and was elected to the Board of County Commissioners in 2018. I'm pleased to report, since I sit in on many of their meetings, that she regularly brings thoughtful and well-informed points to the commissioners' discussions. Prior to serving as a county commissioner, Dr. Greene served for 3 terms on the Chapel Hill Town Council, where she was an early affordable housing advocate, and she was instrumental in the creation of the Orange County Partnership to End Homelessness. Related to economic development, she was a founding member of WE Power, a women's group sponsored by the Piedmont Food Processing Center to support women entrepreneurs in the food business. She is co-chair of the Transit Policy Steering Committee, co-chair of the county's Broadband Task Force. She's a delegate to the Triangle J Council of Governments. She's chair of the Regional Advisory Council on Aging. She has a JD from George Washington University and a PhD in English from UNC-Chapel Hill. And this is according to her. Now that she qualifies for senior discounts, she's given up writing legal briefs and has started to do more of her own writing. The Edward Tales by Elizabeth Spencer, with a critical introduction by Sally Greene, will be published by the University Press of Mississippi in spring of 2022. Commissioner Greene, we're delighted to have you join us today for this important local economic development forum. Please bring welcome.
Thank you so much, Katie, for that generous introduction. And maybe you could unshare the screen so I could see folks. Could you do that? Wonderful. So glad to be among all you friends. I bring greetings from the County Commission and want to let you know that we are very conscious of the need to support our local businesses, particularly as we've been doing through the pandemic. I personally am very interested right now in supporting small businesses in the county and have been working with our Food Council and our agricultural development folks and with Durham Tech to figure out ways we can better support local businesses, particularly in the food industry. I want to share with you some impressive numbers from the pandemic that show how we have used the Article 46 tax money that I know you all advocated for so strongly a few years ago, combined with our COVID relief money. And so that over the past year through early 2021, the county allocated over 3 rounds of grants and loans, mostly grants, $643,000 in grants and some loans. Combine that with $185,700 distributed through our regular Article 46 small business grants and $126,000 of that tax money that went to agricultural enterprises. that adds up to almost right at $1 million in support that Orange County has invested in small businesses in Orange County during the pandemic. So I wanted to share that good news with you. That's straight from a PowerPoint that the commissioners will receive tonight at one of our budget hearings. So again, I'm delighted to be here with you. I wish you a good morning and good health, and I look forward to seeing how the day progresses. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Greene, and thanks for sharing those numbers. Partnerships really made a difference through the pandemic. Now on to the program. As I mentioned before, Chamber President and CEO Erin Nelson will present and then moderate our discussion today. Erin is committed to community and economic development, has led the Chamber for 20 years, and pretty much knows the backstory on everything going on in our towns. Erin, take it away.
Yes, was muted. Sorry, everybody. Thanks, Katie. Appreciate the introduction. Sponsors, Commissioner Greene, good morning. Today's forum, we're going to do it in 2 segments, has become our tradition. I have some opening framing with some data and information about our community. I'm going to talk about local economic development, particularly the impact of development. And then we're going to hear from our local economic development leaders. They're going to give some updates about different projects and economic development activities. So we'll get the town of Chapel Hill, downtown Chapel Hill, the university, as well as Carrboro. They'll give short presentations, and then I will ask them some questions, and you're welcome to pop questions into the chat at any time, both during my presentation or theirs. So let's get to it. Forgive me. Let me share my screen. All right, I'll trust someone will tell me if you don't see the big screen. All right, so a little framing and context. Last month, we had a conversation about regional economic development. And sometimes it's a term we use and not everybody agrees on what it means, sharing 2 quick definitions. The IEDC talks about these policies and programs and activities that are designed to create and retain jobs and to ultimately facilitate economic growth. But I love also the California Association of Local Economic Development. They're talking about the creation of wealth, which is a community benefit, more than a jobs program, talking about the investment needed to grow your economy, enhance prosperity, improve quality of life. So let's talk a little bit about that. I am going to share with you, this is stolen from Dwight Bassett, a virtuous cycle in our community, that we have jobs and those create income, and that income generates resources to build and purchase housing, and that provides a market for retail, and then generates taxes that funds our education, that trains our workforce, that focuses on our jobs. And these things are all very much interrelated. But I want to just pause for a moment. Some folks have said, well, what is the purpose of economic development? How would we know if we are successful? If we are successful, then what? What are we striving for? This isn't just about helping people make a lot of money, right? This is about other things. So if we are successful, then what? So I think if we are successful working together, there will be more jobs, not only more wages paid, but we'll see wages increase. We're seeing that now, that there will be work opportunities for our residents, that will see increased property value, increased availability of housing, that will generate the taxes and other resources we need in order to protect our land and protect our environment. We'll be able to invest in improved infrastructure. We'll use that to fund additional education and educational attainment, and that overall that we're going to improve our quality of life. Economic development is super important, I think, in our community to generate the resources to help us live the lives that we want and to accomplish our values. And our community has some great attributes. I'm going to talk in a minute about some of the challenges, but as you know, incredible attributes. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but why would you grow and start a business here? Why would you relocate your business into our community? And there's a host of reasons that make us very competitive with the regions both around us in the Triangle and across the country. There's a lot of strategies in economic development. As you guys know, we can build new things. We can redevelop existing things. We can focus on growing enterprises. We can recruit new enterprises. workforce development, infrastructure development, and in different communities, people do it differently. And in our community, we are focusing on all of these. Under that recruit new enterprises, we have to really also think about what kind. Some enterprises really bring us resources. They're going to take the resources of people outside our community and bring them in. Manufacturing, our university, right? Tuition paid across the state, focused here. There are some that are not as good at that they are taking resources from us and they are distributing them into other places. And then other businesses help recycle those resources in our community. And as we recruit businesses, we have to think about what kind those are. So as you know, we focus on Orange and Chatham County mostly. Today is going to be mostly about Orange since we've done our regional in the past. I want to remind you that we have some constraints. We've shown you this map a lot. This is Orange County, and I saw a better version of it. Just let's look at it this way. All of the things in gray are publicly owned lands owned by Duke University, UNC-Chapel Hill, the Water and Sewer Authority, nonprofits. So those are not taxed. All the things in red are generally in what's called use value. It's mostly farmland. So we have very little where we actually can do economic development in our community. We have a little tiny economic development district here. We have a little small one here. We have another one. Our economic development districts make up about 3% of the total land area of Orange County. And then there's work that we can do within our municipalities. And so we do have Hillsboro and Chapel Hill and Carrboro, but this rural buffer, which really guides a lot of the development. So again, very small economic development nodes. There are some conversations what we should be doing there. And I'd encourage us if we want to use them to, I don't know, grow plants. So we do the growing of plants out in our farming districts, and we focus our economic development in the economic development districts. A visual image of our county. This is from 2013, where we took each acre and we gave it a value. And so you can see the difference between the developed land and the undeveloped land in terms of their economic productivity and the taxes that they pay. More on that in a second. In a previous presentation, we talked more about employment. I just wanted to disabuse us of a notion. We sometimes talk about Orange County as a bedroom community. In fact, we are not. We're actually an employment center. Now, many of the people that live here do work somewhere else, but we are a net gain every day of employees. In fact, in Chapel Hill specifically, 30,000 more people are here during the day in pre-pandemic times than at night. About 60,000 people sleep here and about 90,000 people spend their day here. And so we are truly an employment center. And these are the key areas: professional, scientific, and technical, human services, healthcare. Not surprising. Most of our industries are focused there. Chatham County is very similar, except with more folks in the construction area. And they have food processing plants in a way that we don't in Orange County. Back to the land. Most of it is in unincorporated Orange County. Chapel Hill is only 5% of the land mass. Hillsboro just 1.5%, 1.3%. But most of the economic activity does take place in Chapel Hill. So this is the assessed value. Chapel Hill's worth about $7 billion. Carrboro worth $2.2 billion. And this is in the previous tax assessment. The final tax assessment numbers aren't known yet. And so we'll be updating those here very shortly. But if we want to look at our commercial value, so this is Orange County's commercial assessed value. Chapel Hill has $1.4 billion worth of commercial property. Carrboro, just $230 million. Hillsboro, with more than Carrboro at $300 million. You see Mebane, and then the rest of the county. When we're talking about growing, particularly in the projects that we're going to talk about today, many of those are designed to impact this. And I'll just use the Lake Hogan Farm project in Carrboro, which is estimated to be worth $100 million. That would increase Carrboro's commercial property value by 30%. These are the apartment assessed value. Apartments are either commercial or they're residential, depending on how you want to argue it, but they are some of the largest taxpayers in Orange County. We talk a lot about that commercial and residential tax mix. So 71% of Chapel Hill residential, 20% commercial, 10% apartment. Again, put your apartment in your residential or your commercial category. There's Carrboro. It is the least commercial, most residential. This is based on the tax base. Hillsboro, the most diverse, the rest of the county. And then you see the county as a whole. So sometimes when we talk about economic development, what we're talking about is changing this mix, improving the amount of revenue and resources our community gets from non-residential sources. If you show those in scale to each other, they look more like this. Let me just take a look at the county as a whole. We are principally residential with $1 billion in apartments, $2 billion in commercial, and $13 billion in residential. So I want to take a look at just a little bit about how economic productivity works and some of the developments that you're going to hear, and just spend about 5 minutes on this, shorter on this. So this is Rams Plaza. I'm using old data. The new data will be coming out for us to look at soon. The land is worth about $4.8 million, the building's $6 million. So the whole value of that whole project is 14 acres. You see that value. What we want to calculate today, just like miles per gallon, it doesn't matter how big your tank is, it matters how many miles per gallon you are going to get. And so what you can see there is it produces at about $800,000 an acre. Let's take a look at a few others. Oops, excuse me. So this is University Place, also very similar, $800,000-ish an acre. The Walmart in Hillsboro, exact same, $850,000 an acre. This is Timberline. It produced in 2013, $900,000 an acre. Does this make sense? We're taking the total value divided by the total acres, and this is its assessed value. But what I share with you is if you go up a little bit, it really becomes more valuable. Meadowmont, $2 million an acre. East 54, $9 million an acre. This project downtown, $23 million, $24 million an acre. One of the most valuable acres in all of Orange County is this building. It was assessed at $33 million an acre, $34 million an acre, $52 million an acre. 52 times more productive than what we are seeing. And they pay dramatically different in taxes. This Walmart pays, the Walmart in Orange County pays $5,000 an acre in taxes. Carmel Mall, what it pays per acre in taxes. East 54 pays $80,000 an acre in taxes to Orange County. I'm not using the cities. This is just to Sally's county commissioners in Orange County. And then you can see what Greenbridge was paying per acre. And that productivity has a lot to do with density. When we took a look at studies across the country and we averaged them, what we see is that if a single family house generates $1, then a Walmart in property tax generates about $7. Here's what a strip mall, mixed use 2 stories, mixed use 3 stories, mixed use 6 stories. 400 times more productive than a single family. And it's not linear. The 2-story and the 3 and then the 6 is dramatically better gains as we take a look at. This is over 22 cities. So just to drive this point home, I did pull some 2021 data. Thank you, Jensen, for the help. This is what Timberline's worth now. Timberline's worth $1 million an acre. And then let's compare it to another new building. This is the Berkshire. The Berkshire is assessed at $82 million. The Berkshire's assessment at $82 million. It's about 3 acres big, so $28 million an acre. The comparison I want to make is that one Berkshire equals 5.5 Timberlines. You need 71 acres of Timberline style development in order to produce the economic revenue, the tax revenue, the assessed value that one Berkshire can give you. And that's pretty extraordinary. All right, a word on taxes since we were talking about it, and taxes are a thing that everybody is discussing right now. And I want to remind everybody that our local taxes, taxed by our municipalities, are in the middle of the pack. This is 30 other cities in North Carolina. This is last year's tax rate, and you can see Chapel Hill and Carrboro in the middle of the pack. Salisbury is leading. So when your local city manager says, hey, our taxes are reasonable, or the mayor says that taxes are reasonable, what they're talking about is their municipal tax. But as you guys know, when you live in a city, you don't just pay the city tax. You pay the city tax plus the county tax plus the district tax. And so when you add all those together, this is what it looks like. So then Carrboro and Chapel Hill outpace the rest in terms of total tax assessed value. What makes it worse a little in our community, and you see Cary down there, Cary's municipal tax rate is half the municipal tax rate of Hillsboro, for example, is that this tax is then assessed on the average property. So when we put it on the average property, so the tax rate on the average property is where we start to hear folks. So the average property in Carrboro and Chapel Hill are really worth a lot. And so when you assess a high rate on high value. And so some of our competitive advantage challenges are going to be about that tax rate, a lot of it having to do with county tax assessment, as well as school district tax. So can successful economic development lower taxes? Yes. But is that why we're doing it? No. If you build another Berkshire, you can save yourself the need for building to assess one more penny in municipal property tax. But as we were talking before, it was about these things, the reason for which we do the economic development. Reassessment is a tough time to talk about taxes because it makes things a little bit weird on what they are worth. We look forward to updating that data that I had shared with you just a moment ago. Successful economic development on the tax side will generate revenue that reduces the need to increase property taxes, but it is for a host of these other reasons that we think it is really worth our time. Many people ask what's the largest driver of economic development over the last 10 years? There's lots of things that could be doing it. Is it the Moornagas and the ABBs and the new buildings and the property tax, new apartment complexes, regional employer growth, startups, downtown, university? It is the mix of all of these things that has really helped us be successful. That is the time that I wanted to spend on a Good Morning Frame Up. Katie, were there any questions that folks posted there?
Yeah, there was one good question from a gentleman named Joel who wanted to know if you are familiar with what the ideal tax split is on residential to commercial, and how our rate in Orange County, our split, might compare to other counties like Durham and Wake.
So there are economic development professionals that are going to follow me, and this is what they do for a living, and they can comment when they get there. It's probably different from many places. Hillsboro is probably the split that we would most admire, a 70-30 or a 60-40 residential to commercial. You saw that we were in Carrboro 77% residential, and in the county maybe 75-80% residential. I think we should not focus on those percentages. If we took all of South Point Mall and we put it inside Orange County, you could move that percentage by 1 percentage point. Instead, I think our goal should be to double revenue from commercial sources. We could say our goal is to double the revenue that we get from our commercial sources. Residential is going to go up also. It's really hard to tamp down the residential growth. So they will grow together. Changing the percentage is hard, but if instead we did say over the next 10 years, let's double commercial revenue sources, taxes, sales, and property, that might be a better way, though the split won't change much. Any other questions before we get to, hopefully some of that's useful and helpful. For me, seeing the different buildings and the types and kinds and their productivity rate, in particular what we're getting from new construction and new development.
Hey, Aaron, could I make a comment?
Yeah, please, go ahead, Matt.
So just to jump ahead, and maybe things I'll say when I get to my comments, but to further elucidate on what I think Aaron's saying, is that I really think that we should get to the point of saying that apartments are commercial development. One of the problems that we have is that we keep on adding commercial, but we keep on building timber lines to get that commercial. And that creates a lot of competition between retail businesses. And Orange County or Chapel Hill, according to a recent analyst I saw from the Noel Consulting Group, is that we have about double the amount of retail per the national average. And that creates a lot of competition versus office and multifamily as commercial changes that mix to where we need to be, but doesn't overly create competition between the same types of businesses.
I think that is well said and is in the spirit of the collaborative back and forth that we're hoping for this thing. Sally, I saw your comment, but also your hand up. Do you want to?
Right. I just wanted to point out what I said in the chat, which was exactly what what Matt was changing. And I'll just further say, we often hear folks say residential development doesn't pay for itself, but I think that really needs to be strictly nuanced, because as we see with Berkshire, apartment complexes like that very much, as you say, Aaron, kind of exponentially change the equation there. So when folks say residential doesn't pay for itself, that was true in the old days when the only residential development we were talking about in Chapel Hill was single family. So I think that really needs to be updated in our narrative.
I agree with that. And there are some studies where they'll say that even currently apartments don't pay for themselves, but what they're studying is 1960s apartments in Charlotte, and the resources needed to serve them and the revenue that they produce. And those are not paying for themselves. What we are building in our community, new, residential development since 1980 in the form of multifamily, or since 1990, is very much generating more revenue than services consumed. Thank you, Commissioner Greene. Dwight Bassett, you are up next. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend, Dwight Bassett. He's the Economic Development Director for the town of Chapel Hill. He is Chapel Hill's first Economic Development Director. Took a brief visit to the big city in Raleigh. We were glad to then have him back for the last many years. He's run his own business. He's a master wood craftsman. And he's a person who wakes up every single day, trying to figure out how he can help grow our economy and improve the quality of life for the people in our community. Dwight, take it away.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to come and speak this morning, and thank you for all those comments of framing this morning. Aaron, it's very helpful and very contextual to what I'm going to be talking about today. So first off, I was asked to give my definition of economic development, and again, this is Dwight's definition, is to grow the commercial tax base through commercial development and job creation to help create a more balanced community and job opportunities for our children. Chapel Hill Economic Development is personally striving to positively influence the economic vitality of our community, and that has always been our intent. So some of the things that we do to make that happen includes marketing, advertising, and storytelling, promoting available space in Chapel Hill, responding to requests for information, participating and being a board member with Launch, and facilitating entrepreneurship, facilitating projects that add to our tax base and allow companies to grow in Chapel Hill. And part of how we've been doing that for the last few years came out of our 2015 commercial development strategy and still remains appropriate today, with the desire to take our place on the map as a National Center for Research and Development, using pride, prosperity, and people with the core focuses of telling our story, resetting the town and gown relationship, and creating more room for businesses in our community. Aaron told you he stole my graphic. Here is the original form of that graphic. I think it best represents our intent. I won't repeat it. You can see it. You heard Aaron talk about it. It is a great example of good economic development and how it balances out the community all the way across the spectrum. So one project I wanted to highlight before we go into a few highlights in other areas is what we call 828 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, our police station. We are looking at the potential of redeveloping that site and putting a municipal service center there. We would remediate according to NCDEQ standards and developing on-site uses by a private developer. Could include mixed uses with some multifamily, and it could become a tax-paying property. And interestingly, to me personally, relieving the liability by the town is important. We had a meeting with our Brownfield attorney late yesterday afternoon, and it was a big part of that conversation in the role that it can play in taking the town out of the responsibility and liability position for this property. So next, I wanted to just go through some highlights in different districts around town that I thought might help you get a highlight of things going on in our community. We'll begin in North Chapel Hill, where the former Timberline Theater is being converted to office, and we'll have 19,000 square foot of office space. Then we'll go to Blue Hill District, University Place, where University Place will have as much as 100,000 square foot of office total of 450,000 square foot of commercial with hotel rooms and multifamily residential. And then we look at the former University Insight, which is planned for 284 multifamily housing units. Then the former Park Apartments with the extension of Elliott Road through that site. Pretty exciting with that traffic circle and the addition of those 400 units. The True Hotel, which will be 98 hotel rooms in Blue Hill. And then over to Glen Lennox, the Linden Link Apartments at Glen Lennox, 250 multifamily units, and they have submitted for their second Link projects, which is their, what I'd call middle housing project. It's not affordable, it has some components of affordability, but it's sort of mid-market, and we're thrilled to have that as a part of our community. And then the Gwendolyn office building, which is 100,000 square feet. Pretty excited about this, considering we've gone through stagnant periods with office growth in Chapel Hill. Between this and the potential building downtown, we think is a tremendous push forward with office development in our community. And then we'll go downtown and talk about several projects. The first is the Wallace Deck, our 150 East Rosemary site, is being planned for a 200 to 250,000 square foot office building with wet lab. This is a sketch up of that concept and what it might look like. It's pretty exciting, the things that it will do. One of the side effects of good urban redevelopment is seeing urban forms change, and we would be taking down a part of that retaining wall along Henderson Street and changing the alleyway, which really opens up that corner and makes it feel more connected to the businesses across Henderson as a big key component of downtown. So I think that's going to be a nice addition. The West Rosemary Hotel behind former Town Hall is proceeding. The East Rosemary parking deck, which I think obviously because I've had such a key role in that and very passionate about and feel like it's a really critical infrastructure investment for us to see continued revitalization in our downtown. And I think that we'll continue to see new investment occur because we're supplying the needs in a centralized parking system and better managing our parking resources for the good of seeing development in our downtown. And new to our development scene is a apartment building that is being proposed by Grubb, where the PNC building is currently located on the corner of East Rosemary and Columbia. 140 apartment units. Most exciting thing to me is they're not building parking. They're going to rely on the East Rosemary parking deck to supply their needs. And the town is considering a payment in lieu system. So they would make a capital contribution to our parking system for the privilege of being able to pay monthly fees for their parking. So that's pretty exciting. And then in South Chapel Hill and across from Southern Village is what we used to know as Obie Creek, now South Creek. Age-restricted housing with some retail was presented to council at Council Committee on Economic Sustainability, and we'll see if that continues to move forward. Moving forward, it's really kind of hard to talk about going forward and what the next year may look like without talking about recovery. And a couple things that I will throw out. We sponsored an on-air job fair with WCHL. We have now committed with downtown businesses and Matt Gladdek and our tourism folks for hotels to sponsor a job fair in the coming months. We think that's pretty important as a way of making sure we're filling positions. And that's a part of our recovery planning and our Revive plan. That Revive plan is based around having a resilient economy, resilient place, and resilient people. It was really interesting. I was in a radio interview a week and a half ago, and I got asked, why place? Why place in economic development? Well, it's actually growing to be a bigger factor. I did a speech at a conference back in March on where's my desk and the future of office space, and place will be playing a bigger role in people choosing to get out of their homes, go back to their office, and places and third places are especially important. And so we want to play a key role in making sure we think about place as we have new development. Some of the future grants that we're thinking about, we previously had a TPE grant program in combination with the Chamber of Commerce. But we're also looking at micro grants, entrepreneur grants, and small business grants out of American Relief Funds. And we're hoping to be able to announce those programs in late June, early July. A place opportunity fund to be able to fund unique ventures for the community to help grow female and minority businesses. We think that's pretty important of this sort of recovery plan, is to think about how we can influence place, and a marketing fund to help reach a broader audience for business opportunities and telling the Chapel Hill story, because we do have a great story to tell, and we need to make sure we first take our place in the region and then take our place on the national map. Some of the things we're working on right now and looking forward to, you've heard the university's economic development plan that came out and the subcomponent of Downtown Together. Sheryl and Michelle and Gordon and Matt and Doug and the city manager and the mayor and I are working, and we'll be meeting tomorrow to hopefully award a firm to help us complete a plan for downtown. And we're really excited about that because we're focused on the beginning side of making sure we have things we can implement in the next 5 years to find additional levels of success in our downtown. Seeing growth from businesses as they fill up office space and continue to increase our needs for offices. Working to create continued growth of office space and refinement of our retail, repositioning that. And seeing flex space built in the enterprise zone on Millhouse Road. But that is a market product that we have not had very much of over the years. We're actually pretty excited about that. That flex space could be used for anything from artists to HVAC companies, and we think it will be a nice addition to our market. And then seeking new businesses to locate in our community, as always, and we think that's also a continuing important aspect of the work that we do. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you today, and I'll turn it back over to Aaron and stop sharing my screen, and we'll see what else goes forward.
Dwight. That's a great presentation. Lots of new projects going on. I understand that town planning staff, 48 different projects that are queued up right now. What are you most excited about?
Me?
Yeah, you, Dwight. What are you? I know downtown. How about this? I'll say, other than the 2 downtown projects, what are you most right now, as you look out, excited about or optimistic about?
So, the reshaping of Glen Lennox is a lot bigger than we thought it was when we approved that plan. I mean, us that are in the middle knew what it was, but I don't think the community understood what that reshaping could mean for our community. And seeing the Linden built and then the office building built, and now they're beginning their next apartment building, and they're going to be focused on retail later this year and beginning into next year. That's going to become a much more urban filling area, and that's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing Blue Hill continue to refine itself. I think it's at a point now where we'll begin to see polishing going on and improvement, refinement of retail even further than we've seen in the last 5 years. And I think that's pretty exciting. And again, as I mentioned, the flex space in North Chapel Hill, I think that's a pretty important addition to our market to diversify our ability to compete in the region.
That's super helpful. Katie, were there any questions posted directly for Dwight in the chat while he was going?
There were not.
Awesome. Then Dwight, thank you. And I may come back to you with a question or two. Let me go to Matt Gladdek. Matt Gladdek is the director of the Chapel Hill Downtown Partnership. He came to us a few years ago from Downtown Durham, Inc. He is a guy who totally geeks out on downtown development, downtown success, walkable, bikeable, good planning, good cityscapes, small business support. His active interest in downtown is so substantial that, as I understand it, and I saw on a Facebook post, he has tattooed his favorite cityscape and grid system on his arm, which he will not show us, though he might tell us which city it was. Matt Gladdek, will you share some information about what's going on in downtown Chapel Hill? We see your presentation, but we don't yet hear your voice. Have we lost Matt Gladdek? there we've got Matt.
Apologize.
Oh, no worries. Good to have you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, Aaron, thank you for inviting me. Katie, thank you for getting everything set up for this. For that little bit of trivia, the tattoo on my arm is Buffalo, New York, which is one of 3 radial street designs in the US, DC and Detroit being the other 2. So on a whole number of streets, when you come in, you see City Hall looming in the distance. And that's my hometown. So that's why when I got into grad school at UNC for city planning, I paid a lot of money for a very detailed tattoo on my arm. But I'm very excited to be in Chapel Hill and fully invested here. So there's a lot of really exciting things that I am looking forward to talking about. So first of all, defining economic development. I think when I went to UNC, we had a very clear delineation between economic development and community development, which I'm happy to see, Aaron, the definitions that you use kind of combine them. But I think it's important to talk about them separately. Economic development is traditionally just the creation of wealth, tax revenue, and jobs. And community development is building up the capabilities of local residents through education, training, and community amenities. And these go better together. This is, the product is more than the sum of these 2, or the, anyway, the sum is greater than the parts. This is really important, and I really want to highlight Dwight right here. I think that the Revive Economic Development Plan does this really well, and I'm really excited for some projects that we're already working on to work on some minority business development, which is, I think, some of the best conceived plans that I've worked with in the past, and I'm really excited to be ready to announce those in the future. Downtown has had a really, really tough year. Obviously, we've lost about 26 businesses permanently. For what it's worth, a number of these were chains. And so as we really want to build up a local downtown, if we had to lose businesses, I'd rather lose chains that don't necessarily have strong local ties. Many of these businesses have already been replaced, and a number of them have opened during the pandemic. K-Chula at 140 West, I think, has been extremely successful. That is second generation local restaurateur that has opened that up here. Fifth Third's Bank took an old restaurant space. And so again, talking about the competition that we have in this area, we're building a lot of restaurant space in our town, which is creating a lot of competition. So we're seeing more services and other uses taking up old restaurant space. Brandwine's Bagels opened during the pandemic has been incredibly successful. Blues on Franklin took over the Moe's lease, and they're doing very well. Graduate Hotel bought out the Franklin Hotel, and in spite of a very challenging year, they're doing well. Jed's Kitchen took over the old Peño Mediterranean space next to Lula's and Slapdogs. Jed's Summit Coffee has moved into the old Fruitables space. They're a local chain from Davidson. They're really building out their local services here, and we should see a lot of exciting programming coming out this summer. And probably the thing, if I have to be honest, I'm most excited about is Dame's Chicken and Waffles, which is the best fried chicken and waffles and is so delicious. And I limit myself to eating there once a month. Also very excited, School Kids Records is opening up the Spindle, which will be a bar attached to the record shop. So lots of music and beer going together, which will be really exciting. Perennial Cafe, which was my second office prior to the pandemic, is going to be opening with new ownership. I think soft opening is going to be this week. And they're going to really focus on a lot of outdoor space and to-go orders. Franklin Street Motors Beer Garden is opening up at the old Franklin Street Motors on West Franklin Street. This is run by Mike Benson, who used to run the station. So we have an experienced bar operator who's going to be taking that over. And the architect building out the space is the same architect that did Ponysaurus in downtown Durham. So we have a really exciting design for it, as we really want to talk about moving downtown to having more services for, the 20 to 30-year-olds and older. I think the space like Franklin Street Motors is exactly what we need on West Franklin. And I think this was conceived prior to the pandemic, but a whole bunch of outdoor space for people to be in is incredibly important at the moment. The escape room is still trying to open up at 140 West. That's been made more difficult by the pandemic. The Story is an event space that Jamil of Mediterranean Deli is going to be opening in the old West End wine bar space. Still Life is a club aimed at a older demographic that is set to open above Sutton's on the roof. And there's a whole bunch of leases and expansions that are underway that I can't talk about yet, but there's a lot of really exciting things happening. I've never had so much interest from local restaurateurs looking for space downtown and signing leases downtown. So I'm really excited for what we'll be announcing in the future. Some of the things that we've been working on, we did our strategic plan that finished up during the pandemic. One of the main takeaways there is we really want to take back our reputation as a place for live music. So we hired Kevin Kazi Thomas, who's a local musician, to run some arts programming for us. He's our Director of Arts and Culture. And he's been running the Save the Music series, which is live music every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. at a moving locations. We're going to continue that through the summer, and we're looking to expand programming and applying for grants to do more there. Really excited for that. And we called it Save the Music since a lot of our event venues haven't been allowed to be open for the past year and are now only starting to do smaller bits. Also, thanks to the town, we were able to expand sidewalks. That allowed Four Corners to add this outdoor seating, which has been incredibly successful for them, has helped them get through the business. When you talk to a lot of, Tommy at 411, or Robert at Carolina Brewery, or Jamil at Med Deli, a number of other places, that sidewalk dining has been the difference between them going under and being able to keep on going this year. So very grateful for the town in doing that, as well as the town helping us out with free parking since people weren't parking downtown anyway. So there's free parking on Saturdays and after 6 o'clock, and that has been a really big win for us. The other thing I'm going to mention as we talk about community development is that the county, through the CARES Act funding, funded 3 street outreach workers, which we have given free office space in our office, which we have free space thanks to the university. So that was not a big lift for us, but they've, as of March, they had connected over 20 people to permanent housing and a lot of temporary housing, and they're making a big difference. It's been a really difficult year for a lot of people, and we're grateful for that proactive community development. I won't talk in detail about this, thanks to Dwight talking so much better about it than I could, but I just really want to demonstrate how much of East Rosemary is going to be changing, including 2 new park spaces. This is currently East Rosemary is much more of a car gutter. It's very much a service road, and this is really going to switch things over to being a secondary street, which I'm really excited about. We're also looking forward to when UNC has recovered from the pandemic and can move forward again with their Porthole Alley project on East Franklin Street. As they aim to move admissions to East Franklin, that would add 50,000 visitors to Franklin Street over the course of a year. A lot of those people will hopefully stay in our downtown hotels and walk here. So hopefully this won't be a big car issue. I don't think it will, considering there's not a lot of parking for admissions currently on campus. Really excited for that. Also, again, want to give a huge shout out to Dwight Bassett. Everything that's happening on East Rosemary is largely due in part to Dwight getting an opportunity zone put on that block. And Dwight's work on the economic development agreements has been heroic and incredibly difficult. And I'd also like to thank the town council for some very forward-thinking and progressive votes to get this done. It's been very complicated. They've moved incredibly fast, and I'm very excited for the changes that this will make to East Rosemary, as well as the spill-off benefits to East Franklin. Looking at West Franklin Street, there is a parking deck over in this area that is on hold now because of the pandemic. But again, that Rosemary Hotel over at Columbia and Rosemary Street has got a very good design that's moving forward. In my opinion, very much cares about the urban form. And that'll be over 100 rooms of extended stay is the current concept. And I think that'll be just a really great opportunity. They're also working with the town to hopefully turn some of that surface parking around Old Town Hall into another green space, which the town can use for programming for whatever we can do there. Moving to the west, the Amity Station project failed in its former multifamily form. There's currently an approved site plan. I think it's approved or it's going through the process of about 100 units. That lot was purchased by Price Development for their student housing developer that owns the warehouse apartments next door. So we're waiting to see if they're going to change the site plan or move forward with the current one.
And we have probably just one more minute and then.
Sure. So the other big things I'm excited about is Well moving into their offices. And then I'll move over into what our opportunities are. Number one, housing is what we need to build. And we need to build a lot of housing. Firms locate where the talent is. We have a ton of talent graduating out of UNC that if we can capture and if we can bring other people here will really help us to get the firms that are coming out of UNC to locate here. I see Scott Levitan joined our group for this meeting. Huge thanks to Scott for landing Apple and RTP. That gives us an enormous opportunity for businesses that we've been losing to RTP from UNC to stay local. So that's something we can take advantage of. Additionally, as we're all waiting to see what the fallout for office space is from work from home, Wet Lab is an enormous opportunity because of places that want to co-locate with the university. Additionally, you can't do gene therapy in your spare bedroom turned office. And lastly, to reiterate what Dwight said, we need to invest in our public spaces. Our expanded sidewalk seating in downtown is not beautiful, but it's been a great space to be. And I really think that if we make downtown and our other public spaces more beautiful, we'll get more people that need those third spaces that Dwight talked about.
Awesome. That was a great presentation, Matt. I really appreciate that. I may come back to you with a few questions, in particular, those two overview maps where we could see all those different projects, new parks coming into our downtown. Thank you for that. I'm now going to move to Sheryl Waddell. She is the Interim Executive Director for Innovate Carolina at UNC-Chapel Hill in this new role, which we do hope to hear more about. She's going to bring that university downtown partnership that you heard Matt talk about and Dwight come and bring it to life and help foster a new level of commitment and partnership, vitality, innovation between our university and our downtown. She worked at Innovate Carolina for a while. She had led all of their external relations for them, also co-founding an organization called E51. You may want to ask her more about it. It's a women's entrepreneurial initiative. She has more than 25 years of experience in business development, relationship management. She was the National Program Director for Blackstone Entrepreneurs Network, which you all may know is a partner with UNC, Duke State, Central, supporting entrepreneurs in our region and across the country internationally. She's also an entrepreneur herself. She co-founded Padcom. It's a wireless data communications company back in 1992, where wireless data communications was not something the rest of us were thinking about. So Sheryl, we're so glad to have you. Welcome, and we look forward to your presentation.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Can you all see my screen?
We can see it, but we see the setup slide.
Can you see it now?
We see a beautiful abstract. There we go.
Perfect.
We now see slides.
All righty.
We now see your desktop again. I'm very sorry.
Let's see. Presentation.
We could do some small talk here. How
There
are
we go.
things?
Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. Can you see it now?
You see it center of your screen. We do see some of the stuff. It's a very tidy desktop. So let's proceed.
All right. Sounds good. Nope. All right. We're just going to go with it from here.
That's okay.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Being the newbie on the block, I figured I'd give you a little bit of an overview as far as not only who I am, but the office that I come from within the university. So I am, I've been with the university for the last 10 years, mainly with Innovate Carolina. And Innovate Carolina has two offices. One is our Office of Technology Commercialization, and the other is the Innovate Carolina itself, strategic partnerships. I bring this to your attention because a lot of what we've been doing over the last, what I've been doing over the last 10 years is in the realm of economic development, working with the university more broadly in innovation, entrepreneurship, developing startups, supporting faculty, students, and alumni within their startups. So in 2018 or 2018 rather, we went for and received the Innovation and Economic Prosperity designation. I was asked also to provide my kind of what I thought economic development was, and I really think that this depicts it very well from my perspective of utilizing innovation, talent, and place. And you heard that from a number of our speakers previously, but from a higher ed perspective, utilizing these three initiatives to engage with partners, industry, and stakeholders to really contribute to the advancement of society in general. So broad, but I'll get into exactly how we do that. So recently,
Sheryl, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Would you we have the ability to share we've got your slide deck. Do you want us to post it for you and you just tell us when to move?
Sure.
So that people can see it.
There you go.
All right, we're gonna do that. Vanessa, will you bump it up? Perfect. Okay.
All right.
You just say next.
Advance. And advance. This is where we're at. So over the last few years, we actually have been looking at and benchmarking UNC against a number of national universities, Georgia Tech, Pennsylvania, Penn State, Johns Hopkins, University of Chicago, and really looked at how we were stacking up against those other universities. And what we found was we were a little behind, and we looked at different ways in which we could identify and highlight of those universities and the success that they were bringing to the table from an economic development perspective. I'm not going to read these, but I think that really looking at the center of innovation, place, and talent, and looking at targeting clusters, industry clusters, providing innovation spaces, having a single point of contact for the industry relations opportunity were a couple of the highlights when we were benchmarking against other universities from an economic development perspective. So that happened in the fall. It was presented to the chancellor by Doug Rothwell. And he said, okay, let's make a change here. And he asked Doug, and then Doug Rothwell also asked me to be involved in the economic development initiative that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about now. You can advance. So the goal is really to look at growing Carolina's economic impact, our competitiveness, by executing a comprehensive economic development strategy that benefits Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and beyond. I'm going to talk to you about 3 initiatives. This is hopefully just the beginning of a larger comprehensive economic strategy. So the 3 initiatives that we're starting with, the core strategies are around creating a more distinctive and positive first impression of Chapel Hill, working very closely with the downtown, catalyzing a downtown innovation district, and then also cultivating other networks of innovation, regional innovation hubs by working with our peers, NC State, Duke, NCCU, and CCC. You can advance. The first one, in creating a more positive impression, we're working closely with the town and actually have recently taken a tour with Matt and Dwight and a few others in regards to Sarah, I think I saw her on, in regards to ways in which we can work together with the town to enhance the Franklin Street and Columbia Street, the two intersections that are closest to the edge of our campus. And they've identified a number of different ways, low stakes ways, low barrier ways that we can make that we can clean that up and make it more iconic. We're looking at working with our students, potentially our fraternities and sororities, to help support us in this initiative. We are also looking to develop a innovation hub. We're hoping that we can take on some space at 137 East Franklin, it being very close to the edge of campus. We've been talking to Grub Properties. We've also been talking to the town and our leadership internally about ways in which we can develop an innovation hub. The university has developed, under this initiative, a council of 15 leaders from across campus that will help us imagine what this innovation hub could potentially offer, and also help us attract businesses. The number one area is for the number one focus is to bring businesses to Chapel Hill. You can advance. I'm going to buzz through these really fast because I've been given my 1-minute warning. The Innovation Hub, we're really hoping to have it look at innovation programming, what the university can offer as far as co-working space. We have a Launch Chapel Hill that the university, the town, and the county has created in 2013 that we hope to have located in this innovation hub. In addition to that, some co-working space, and really lowering the barrier for industry, for startup companies, small businesses, and community members to be a part of and have a membership within the space itself. You can advance. Industry collaborations, we're really hoping to bring some innovation centers, even if it's large companies, the top employers of UNC, to participate and have a presence in Chapel Hill. We're hoping to do this through this innovation hub. We're also hoping to catalyze our research commercialization by having those industry partners close to the university. You can advance. This is what we hope to gain. We hope our partners will gain, and we hope the community will gain by a innovation hub, really looking at co-location of businesses, creating an industry bridges between the industry, the community, and the university. From a talent perspective, from a research perspective, innovation perspective in general. One thing I will mention, and actually Dwight mentioned it, this is a part of this initiative is The Downtown Together Task Force, we meet on a regular basis. As Dwight mentioned, we are looking to finalize. We had an RFP out tomorrow. We're reviewing all of the proposals and hope to execute on that contract with a downtown master plan firm and start to look at it more broadly, an innovation, just what an innovation district could be in Chapel Hill. And that is it.
Sheryl, that was fabulous. I am as excited about this as I have been about anything. It is so, for the university to say to its major people it does business with, hey, if you're gonna do business with us, we want you to have a presence in our town. For you all, for university to choose to invest in, I mean, it's the front porch, right? Your ability to recruit and retain faculty, staff, and students is dependent on downtown being successful. And I'm glad they have asked you to lead this effort. What are you most optimistic about it? When you get excited about it, what are you most hopeful for?
I think that having the relationship, we've had the relationship with town for a while. For example, as I mentioned, Launch Chapel Hill. I mean, that is a opportunity. That's a initiative that started in 2013 with the town, the county, and the university, but really to accelerate a lot of businesses coming to Chapel Hill. What I'm most excited about, I did not realize the startup of the 35 startups that Launch had in 2020, 47 of them were POC led. 53 of them were women led. And I think that if we can continue to have that focus, working with the town and looking at a diverse group of people coming to Chapel Hill and helping us innovate, helping us work with startup companies, I really think that was a way in which we can increase revenues, increase tax base, and really have a huge economic impact on Chapel Hill.
That's great. Well, we are grateful for your leadership and your partnership. I hope those of you who watch this are now can feel that excitement about what potential there is in downtown, particularly for that innovation hub. And I look forward to learning more and sharing more about that with you all. And we will certainly get Sheryl back to share more information on that. Let's move to John Hartman-Brown. John Hartman-Brown is the Economic Development Director for the town of Carrboro. He's been with Carrboro for about a year now, comes to us from the city of Elizabethton in East Tennessee, just outside Johnson City. He was the Planning Director and the Economic Development Director for a community, what was it? Somewhere sized between Hillsboro and Carrboro in size, I think about 15,000 people. He's got 10 years of experience in recruiting new businesses, developing old industrial properties, revitalizing downtowns, as well as focusing economic development strategies on entrepreneurship and small business development, small business support. He's got a passion for sustainable economies, and we are glad to have him here in our community. Welcome, John Hartman-Brown.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this great event. I'm looking forward to getting out of the pandemic so that I can come and actually meet some of you all face to face. Since I started during the pandemic, it's been a unique time to start a new job, to say the least. So thank you. I wanted to start out by talking about what is economic development. As some of my other presenters mentioned, we were asked to provide this. And so thinking about it from the perspective that I've had, my definition would be activities that help benefit the financial growth and stability of a region's citizens and households. And I think that's kind of key. And I appreciate Matt's comment that economic development and community development certainly go better together and can really complement and compound the impact of each individual component. So what does that mean when we take that definition and apply it to Carrboro? For us, I think that we see the need to support the growth and development of our entrepreneurship community and the number of entrepreneurs. We see the need to grow the town's commercial base to carry more of the tax burden rather than on many of our residential properties to help ensure that our citizens have better financial stability in their households. And lastly, to ensure all citizens and households benefit equitably in that financial growth and that stability. So let's take a look at some of the projects that we've got going on in Carrboro. Lloyd Farm is the big one. Many of you have been hearing about this for a number of years, and I'm happy to report that the development review on this project has been completed, and the construction plans for the phase 1 of this project have been submitted and distributed to our partners and to staff, and are currently being reviewed. And finally, the next step on this project is construction. So phase 1 is just the Harris Teeter and some of the adjacent shops. So we expect phase 2 to be coming at a later time, but we're excited to get this project at least under construction and something moving down there. South Greene, the next big development. Phase 1 and phase 2 are completed and being leased right now. So if you have a need for some space, we can get you hooked up there at South Greene. Phase 3 is the back portion of that project. The phase 3 has been approved and is currently looking for tenants for the properties that they're looking at building out those properties there before they start construction. Just a little bit of a side note, many of you have also heard about the South Greensboro Sidewalk that would connect South Greene to downtown. And that sidewalk design is anticipated to be completed by the end of the year. We are expecting an update from the design consultant by the end of June. So we should have a better idea of the timeline for that sidewalk, and anticipating that the construction of the sidewalk will begin in 2022. The 201 North Greensboro lot, the CVS lot, as many of you may know it as. Currently, this is in staff design review. We are working with the developer to finalize the design on this and making sure that it complies with the town's codes. This will be going to our joint review session. So the joint review of all of our committees will be reviewing this project here in the near future as soon as we finalize the design from a staff perspective. So we could be looking at that probably this fall. And after that, it will go to town council for the final review on the project. Shelton Station, another project that's been a lot of excitement to downtown Carrboro, is completed and occupied. UNC and Dingo Dog Brewery occupy the retail components there in the front of the project. The apartments are leased, and happy to say that we've got some great affordable units in that development as well. So good opportunity for affordable housing within close proximity to downtown Carrboro. The rest of the retail space will be completed and filled out. We're anticipating this year, hopefully, and we're working with the developer on that to help backfill the additional retail space. The 203 project, another project that's really could change the face of downtown Carrboro. A little bit controversial among some folks, but downtown council has approved the schematic designs for this project and are currently reviewing the design materials and components. I'm happy to say that the new parking deck, the schematic plan that the council has approved, will hold 173 spaces. And we're anticipating construction to begin very late 2021 or more likely early 2022, where we'll start seeing grading material, grading activities beginning on the site and the construction of the building. So looking forward, many of you also may know that the town of Carrboro has undertaken our comprehensive planning process. A really great opportunity, a fun time to start a new job with the town, as we're really beginning to shape and determine what we want our community to look like in the future. Additionally, the Economic Sustainability Commission has also undertaken this project to really determine what do we want the economic viability to look like for the future in Carrboro. And interestingly enough, the Economic Development or Economic Sustainability Commission goals align very well with what we're seeing out of the Comprehensive Planning Task Force. And so I wanted to share some of these goals with you today as really an indicator of what the future of Carrboro and economic development in Carrboro would look like. And you can see it's very much based off of what we were talking about. What is economic development, how we implement that with a unique aspect, really focusing on inclusivity and encouraging racial equity in our development going into the future. And with that, I want to thank you for your time today. And there's my contact information. So if anybody has any questions or is interested in learning more, please feel free to follow up. Aaron, back to you. Thanks.
Thanks, John. You come to us with fresh eyes. Now, I know that you came also during a pandemic. So you have like fresh eyes looking through COVID glasses, I guess, at it. But
yes,
is there anything that stands out to you that your experience either in Carrboro or sort of this region, maybe something unexpectedly positive or?
Yeah, so coming from the mountains in East Tennessee, one of the things I think that I found probably most interesting is the outdoor assets. It's easy to say outdoor is an opportunity and an asset for you when you're in the mountains. But coming here, I mean, this area is really beautiful, and you guys have great outdoor assets here. University Lake, gorgeous lake, surrounded by the woods. I mean, that's beautiful. You've got great rivers here for kayaking and hiking along. You've got the Carolina North Forest, great biking and hiking opportunities. I see that as really an opportunity for this area to flourish.
I think that is an interesting perspective, and particularly in COVID and post-COVID times where folks might want a little bit more distance. I think marketing our outside assets, I think we have a real opportunity there. We've not spent much time on talking about that, but as Matt said, businesses want to be in beautiful places and people want to live there also. John, welcome. I'm very glad that you're here. Katie, were there any key questions that folks may have posted in that chat? We've got just a few minutes. We aim to end right on time at 10.
Yep. Earlier, Andrew asked a question. I think it might be most relevant for Sheryl, but others might have some input. When we recruit new businesses to really make the most of the top talent coming out of UNC, what do businesses need? Are they needing capital? Are they needing business accelerator services? Andrew's interested in hearing where the needs are.
So I'll take a stab at it, and then I think my colleagues can also follow up. I think that all of the above. So I do think that what we hope to offer is the opportunity to tap into the talent, tap into the students that are coming out of graduating from UNC. We have a number of different internship programs and partnering with them. But I also think capital as well. And we have a number of programs that will offer capital, but we also hope to work with investors. Investing is really at an uptick at this point in time. So I think we have a terrific opportunity energy. More importantly, the space that we're looking at in 137 East Franklin is in an opportunity zone, which offers some tax benefits when investing in qualified opportunity zone companies. So I do think it's a combination of a lot of things that we as a whole are uniquely poised to offer.
Awesome. Matt, you want to make a comment on that?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's all exactly right, Sheryl. When I've talked to firms, the other thing is that people need talent. And right now that's been the most difficult thing, is that there's not places for young people that are doing these tech jobs to live right now. And so a real big thing we need to do is provide space, both more office space to meet the needs, but also more residential space for the talent.
I'm going to let would John or Dwight like to take a swing at what entrepreneurial and startup are needing most, or when you are recruiting, what you think people need most. And then I'm going to ask you all a final question you can think about. Go around the room. I'm going to say local economic development is important because, and then one at a time you guys will give that answer. But John or Dwight, to the question that was asked.
So I'll go first because John wasn't moving his mouth, so I'll step up and go first. So I still think that we have a barrier to overcome, that people don't think of Chapel Hill as a place for business. And I still continue to believe that even as we grow our office, it, is a bit of a struggle to see us see companies take that. We've lost a tremendous number of companies in the time that I've been in Chapel Hill to Durham because we've not built that reputation that we want to nurture. And sometimes it's a cluster issue, like a genome company or a bioscience company. They just don't think we're offering the space. So I think telling our story continues to be a critically important component of being able to gain those businesses in Chapel Hill.
Perfect. John, anything to add?
Yeah, I would say I think, of course, space is appropriate. You've got to have a place to put these businesses, and that's key. So you got to have the space for it. Flexibility of space is another key component for a lot of entrepreneurs. They need to expand quickly, and so they've got to have that space. I would echo Matt's comment as well, that we have such a tight labor market that we've got to make sure that we can provide them with the employee and talent that they need.
Excellent. So Dwight Bassett, first to you. Local economic development is important because... Finish that sentence.
It reinforces the sense of community. It's who we, Chapel Hill and Orange County people are. And I think that it also showcases the ability of our people, whether it's artists or farmers or people who just collect products and sell them in our market. It's an important component of who we are.
Thank you. Matt Gladdek, local economic development is important because...
We get to build the community we want.
Sheryl, local economic development is important because...
I think it provides an opportunity for equity. It furthers our society as a whole.
And John Hartman-Brown, last word. Local economic development is important because...
It determines the future of our community.
Oh, those are wonderful. Katie Luvis, will you bring us to conclusion, please? Thanks, y'all. That was really great.
That was terrific. Well, I hope everyone was able to capture some key insights today that will help you better understand what local economic development is, why it matters, how it's being done in our community, and of course, what we all can collectively expect and advocate for going forward. I want to give a heartfelt thank you to our speakers who took the time to prepare superb presentations today, and to Commissioner Greene for the very warm welcome. I also want to thank our sponsors who made today's event possible: Chapel Hill Media Group, Duke Energy, and Durham Tech. As I mentioned at the start of the meeting, we'll send out the link to this video and the slides from today's discussion in just a few days. Bear with us. But in the meantime, you're invited to tune in to 97.9 The Hill today at 4:30. Aaron Nelson and Dwight Bassett are going to discuss the top takeaways from today's discussion with News Director Brighton McConnell. I also encourage you to check chapelboro.com next week. I'll be writing an article that will summarize these key insights. We hope you'll join us next month for our next forum. It's going to be on June 24th, Risk and Resiliency, ensuring modern and resilient utilities and services for business continuity in challenging times. So registration is open. As always, if you'd like to learn more about becoming a chamber member, just reach out to us directly or go to carolinachamber.org. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.